Oh, hi everybody. Thank you for having me here. Yeah, you were fantastic, Gavin. How do I follow such a great guy? Okay, so yeah, my name is Bella Kotak, and I'm a fine art photographer based in Oxford. I often work between Oxford and London, but predominantly a lot of the work that I'm going to show you today was actually taken in and around Oxford. So you can follow me on nearly every single social media. I'm kind of psycho like that. So find me on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, YouTube, all of them. I'm on there as Bella Kotak. Right. My journey kind of began in around 2006, 2007 when I first picked up a camera. I was actually doing architecture at the time. I was doing a course in architecture. And I started taking self-portraits as a way to become better at Photoshop. That's the only reason. But in 2009, I shot my first model. And her name was Camille. And she happened to be a friend. And the above image is my image in 2009 that was edited with really basic Photoshop and color-toned in iPhoto. So yeah, I was one of those people that started off like color-toning in iPhoto on the MacBook. And then the photo below is of Camille again in 2015. And I guess what I'm going to share with you today is really just a quick journey into my evolution. And yeah, that's it really, so let's go. So around 2014, I was feeling a bit kind of lost. I couldn't really find my photography voice. I'd shot many things like weddings, families, portraiture, fashion, beauty, anything I could really get my hands on, any opportunity that came up, I said yes, I did it, I took it, I second shot for loads of people. But I couldn't find my passion. Nothing really stood out, and that's when I was losing a bit of faith in my photography as well. I decided to do a personal project, something that was really playful and just strictly for me. I was being incredibly selfish. It was just going to be me, the model. I didn't need a makeup artist. I didn't need a hair artist. I wanted it to be as simple as possible. I would shoot it after work, so I'd work as an architect in the day, and then in the evenings, I would go out and with a friend or whoever I could get my hands on, really, or like either on Model Mayhem, and just shoot. So this was one of the first pictures I created, and it really inspired me to keep going. So this is called The Escape of Flora. And this picture essentially is a girl running in a narrow alleyway, and there wasn't much manipulation done here, actually, because the sun had just set. The street light above her, that orange light you see there, is a street light that just flickered on at the moment that this was shot. And I released a giant green smoke bomb in the background, which I'm surprised I didn't get into trouble over. And I just tossed some weeds on the side under her cloak. And the idea was that as she was running, these flowers would like be coming out of her cloak. And without even realizing it, I'd created a picture that was telling a story. So after that, I got really excited about florals. And I would just scour local areas. This was shot in a public park. I was walking around with a model called Lucy, and I saw this bush, and I was like, oh, that's a great bush. I was like, jump in there. And so she's in there, and what you can't see is like probably a little bit of dog poo that like people had pushed on the side. And I was like, yeah, ignore that, Lucy. For this shot, I used a 24-70 lens. I jumped up a tree. I fell off the tree, but I got the shot. And essentially, what began to happen was I began to slowly evolve. I began to slowly, I guess, starting off really, really, really simple. Like me, the model, maybe just one prop, which was flowers. With this shot, I just added a smoke bomb, a smoke pellet as well. And the initial shots are really, really simple. And as I began to evolve, I wanted to make each photo better than the last. So for this one, in Photoshop, I wanted to see where it would go. The girl was wearing, Camille again, was wearing a blue wig. And in Photoshop, I thought, well, let's just see. I grabbed bits of the blue wig and, using the transform tool, just transformed them and manipulated them just to see what she looked like with longer hair. And I got quite excited about that. I layer masked things out, color-toned it so that it all kind of blended in really nicely, and essentially this shot happened. That isn't how it looked, and as we continue, I'm going to show you guys a few of my before and afters as well. So I began to basically start piecing my pictures together. So what initially began as like one shot soon began to be a puzzle of different pictures making that one shot. So whenever I would go out and shoot, my aim, because this was a personal project, like completely selfish, completely for me, I only wanted one picture. I didn't go out there to get 3 pictures, 5 pictures, 10, which is what you would ideally give back to the model. I was really open and really honest, and I was like, hey, look, we're going to shoot. We're going to keep it really casual. If it's shit, then please don't hate me. I'll make it up to you next time. And also, we're just going to get that one picture. So this is the one picture that we got from one day. I had a bouquet of flowers, which I had stolen from a rubbish bin of a nearby florist. And we went into a field. The sun was just setting, so there was golden luminous light in the air. And with that one bouquet of flowers, I made her lie on it, and then I kind of moved it around on top of her, and then I kind of just kept moving it around. I didn't have a tripod, which was really stupid. And ideally, please use a tripod if you're going to do composite photography. And yeah, later in Photoshop, I would piece the picture, all the pieces of the different photos into one final picture. And then the rest is color toning. So yeah. This is essentially where my project kind of really began to take off. I titled it In Bloom in the end, and you know how they say that whatever energy you put out, the universe sends good things your way, it sends it your way. So clearly I was putting out this floral loving energy, and it just so happened that at that very moment in time, the florist, who literally the business was right next to my architecture practice, had changed the way they were discarding flowers, and they were putting all the flowers in a big cardboard box and shoving it at the front of the store. So every day when I would finish at 5:36, I'd walk out, and on Mondays and Thursdays, it'd be boxes of flowers in front of the store. And I was that crazy bin lady raiding those flowers. Cars are passing by, stuck in traffic, and I'm wasting, taking out hydrangeas and wilted roses, filling my car with leftover wedding flowers. And the summer of madness began. So this was 2014. I would then take all the stuff and go to a friend's garden or anywhere I could really find, and just set up little mini scenes, grab a model. This is a girl called Hannah, who I only met once. No, twice. I met her once and asked her to model for me, and the second time she modeled for me, and I never saw her again. But yeah, I liked her look. I set her up in this scene, and as I was shooting it, I kind of began to just pull the weeds and stuff around her. We shot loads of her looking up, eyes open, eyes closed, and I thought this looked really lovely. I set up a smoke bomb behind her. It was bright yellow, but I changed it to pink because I thought it complemented nicely. I then began to get a bit elaborate and a bit DIY, a little bit crazy, because I had all these flowers and leaves. So the flowers wilted and died, but the leaves I kept because I'm a giant hoarder. And I would, in this case, I bought a black cloak off eBay for $12.99. And one evening, I decided to glue gun all the leaves onto the cloak. I had an idea at this point. I wasn't quite sure where this picture was going, but I thought it'd be kind of cool just to kind of get a bit creative with all these leaves that I had. It took up half my room. And I waited for this photo. So I waited about a month. There was a wall near my house, and it's in a tiny alleyway, and it's got red ivy all along the side. And I waited for a month so that that wall was at the red peak. And I got my friend Lucy, put her in there, and I was butt deep into the bush opposite. We were in this tiny alley, and I was shooting. Now, it has to be said that I'm DIYing it, I didn't bring any lights either. So everything that you're seeing, I took with natural light. And that's where I began to really, really learn from how to use natural light, just through mistakes. So I would always look at the pictures that I was drawn to, and I would ask myself, why am I drawn to that picture? And then for the next photo shoot that I did, I would use the lessons I learned from the shoot before into them. So I began to quickly realize that I liked it when the girl looked into the light. So in this case, we had no time. This picture is actually a little bit grainy, but I actually quite like that. And I had to face the light, throw the dress about, and Photoshop everything. This was actually exaggerated later in Photoshop. I took loads of what do you call it, composite shots. So you're sitting in one place, you move your camera up, down, to the sides, and in Photoshop, you piece it all together. What I also did was exaggerate that cape as well. So I grabbed bits of it in Photoshop and made it bigger, and using the transform tool, made it more than it actually was. But quite like how it looked. Again, the project evolved. I began to stick more flowers onto this cape, because I thought it'd be quite nice to go from winter into spring. A little bit of symbolism in there. And yeah, this was created at one of my workshops, actually, the first workshop I ever did last year in London, in a park, and there was not much behind her. There was just a bit of ivy, and this is a before and after of this picture. So we're at the point in my presentation where I'm going to share with you guys a lot of before and afters. I hope you don't mind. But essentially what it is just a little sneak peek into what I see and my process. So over here on the right is the before. Now, the first thing I look for whenever I shoot a picture is the expression. I know I can piece everything else together after that, but I need to get the expression first. Once I have the expression, I move on. I'm not one of those people that's there for 2 hours, although I easily could be, but because I know how indecisive I am, I try to keep myself really tight. As soon as I've got the expression, I move on. And as long as it's in focus, yeah, brilliant. So I quite like the expression on the top picture. I realized that was the one I was going to build up from. I like the expression. I like the body language. OK, the crown was cut off. That's OK. I'll grab the crown from another picture. I thought it would be quite nice if there was a little bit of movement. I saw a hair flick from another picture, so I grabbed that, threw that in there. The cape looked fuller when I shot it to the side. When I had it out in front of the model, it wasn't, most of the beauty was behind her. So what I did was I positioned it on one side and essentially then realized my vision in Photoshop, which is flipping it to the other in Photoshop and adding it all together. I set off 2 smoke bombs. I'm lucky she didn't catch on fire, because there was a lot of dried flora on her. But yeah, it was actually really beautiful. And then in the end, everything else was done in Photoshop. A quick kind of rundown of my process. A quick rundown of my process, as you'll see on the image to the left, is the first thing I do whenever I'm in Photoshop is composition. That will take the longest amount of time. It'll probably take about 2-3 hours. If I'm lucky, half an hour, and we're done. But more often than not, it's about 2.5 hours. After that, I will liquefy. After that, I will clean up the scene. And this means skin toning, hair, any distractions, stuff like that. I will then dodge and burn. So dodging and burn, I do it kind of twofold. So I'll dodge and burn the face and the body, and then I'll dodge and burn again, but this time focusing on the background. Do I want it lighter, darker? What do I want to see? What don't I want to see? And finally, I will color tone, and then I will sharpen my image. But before sharpening, I will actually fine-tune as well. Because sometimes, when you color tone, you'll notice that some colors are popping here, and some things are popping there, and light is suddenly affected in different ways, and that's where the fine-tuning comes in. So what I'm going to share with you is basically where I capture all these pictures. I get a lot of comments on my Facebook page saying, oh my God, where do you find all these wonderful locations? I wish I lived somewhere as beautiful as you, blah, 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 blah. Well, sometimes the most beautiful locations are on the side of the road, and you just got to grab it when you see it. So, yep, that's me on a country road just outside Oxford, so in Oxfordshire somewhere. And I passed this bush, and I got really excited, as I do about all beautiful bushes. And it was winter time, and my boyfriend was there. So I had him kind of keep an eye out. And if we heard a car coming, we'd hurry up and stand on the side. But all the while, I knew I had to grab this because the sun was setting behind her. So if I go back, you'll see just a little bit of light orange behind her. Again, a shot like this doesn't happen just like that. Luckily, my boyfriend was there with me, so he was tossing the cloak, and I actually edited about, I think, 4 different pictures of that cloak to make this one. This isn't one shot, so this is 4. But her expression was the same, the hood was the same, and everything else was the same. I didn't even need to fill in any more of the background because the bush was really beautiful. Again, working with natural light, it was a bit tough because obviously the light was behind her. Here I am not using a reflector, which would have helped me, but that's where dodging and burning came in, quite helpful and saved the day. Thank you, Photoshop. So again, this is a picture taken by a beautiful road. Yeah. Lots of magic, and actually, I think I kind of thrive off of it. When faced with a really sunny location, I kind of get a bit too like, oh, there's too much pressure. There's too many ways this could go. Whereas if I have a challenge like this, I thrive. And I think maybe this is true for all artists. Maybe we need to like tighten it and then work within constraints to really be creative. So yeah. I shot this, and this is the final picture. I'm going to show you a before and after of this one as well. So the main image that I do work on is the one where the expression is the most beautiful. Sometimes the body language is more beautiful than the face. So I'll use a body language image as the base and then grab a face from another picture. So in this case, I was really happy with, which is what happened here. So the base image was like her beautiful body language. I loved the way her hands seemed like really soft and delicate. I grabbed her face from another photo because she was looking up. I thought that was quite nice. Again, when looking for expressions and making selects, I go for pictures that seem engaging. Yes, in the actual picture here, she looks like soft, really, gentle. There's a moment happening, but I wanted something more. I wanted something a little bit more expression in her face. So I grabbed it from another picture. When I got the shot that I was happy with the body and the face, even though they were in two separate pictures, I asked her to toss her hair. So we did a few hair flicky shots, and I just added them in, and we were good to go. For the background, I thought that, for the background, it's fine. Yeah, sometimes I flip the background over and then tweak it a bit so it doesn't look so symmetrical. This is a behind the scenes of one of my favorite pictures, and we shot this again in a local park, and I set up a smoke bomb. I think that I'm getting known in and around Oxford as that crazy girl who just lurks around with fairies and queens and flowers. And I love the picture I took of my friend. Her name is Lucy again. And if anybody is shot with smoke bombs, you should know that they don't work the way you want them to work. Like, you'll set off a smoke bomb, and then the wind will come. Like, it will change direction, and instead of going this way, it'll go that way. So that's what happened in this picture. So the smoke bomb fell from behind her, and then the wind shifted, and I was like, oh my God, that's my last smoke bomb. I need to get this shot. So I was like running around like a crazy person, grabbing as many smoke shots as I could before it all drifted off into the air. And then the final picture was put together in Photoshop. Again, at this point, I like to say that layer masks are your best friend, and a big, soft, fluffy brush. So I use a fluffy brush, and it is, I think, 100% opacity and 9% flow, but that's just my favorite setting. I like to keep my flow low as I edit, just to make it a bit more realistic. And yeah, Photoshop came and saved the day. This is a picture that was taken in the rapeseed fields last summer. I wanted a picture that was, the rapeseed fields, everyone's taking a photo of them. I thought it would be kind of cool to get another perspective and get right in them. They're bright yellow, so I thought if I kind of brought blue in, it would be quite a nice kind of balance. It's the most done up of all my pictures because I actually had a makeup artist on board. The model, her best friend was a makeup artist, and she's like, hey, can she come along? And I was like, yeah, sure. In which case, I began to realize that perhaps it's a good idea to start bringing other people on board, because now with different skill sets and my growing skill set, the pictures are getting better and better. And they're getting more intricate, because in the beginning of the series, it was literally me, the model, and a simple lace dress that I picked up at the market. And now here I am, like adding crowns, adding jewels, embellishing things, and getting excited with makeup and sticking things onto faces. So yeah, it makes sense to start bringing on board people that were just as skilled, and together we can make a really powerful image. The before and after of this is, again, smoke going a different way and me rescuing it back in Photoshop. And for the makeup, because I knew I was going to have blue smoke, I thought it'd be kind of cool to have a smoky blue eye. I wish I could say that I see the final image when I shoot the picture, but it's more often than not, I see the image when I'm on the shoot. I had the pieces of the image before I go to shoot, but the final image gets tightened up at the shoot. I really lucked out here that the blue makeup complemented the blue smoke perfectly, and even in Photoshop, I kind of knew that, so that's why the smoke is behind her, and everything kind of mixes and matches really nicely. So I think this is my last before and after, and this was taken in LA. And Photoshop really, really came to the rescue on this day, as you're going to see. Right, so that's the before, which is really very, very different to the after. I'm sorry it's not bigger, but yeah. So the before picture I used because I grabbed this shot that I was really pleased with. The wave had come just at the right time. Now, it has to be said that I got so confused. This was the first time I was in LA. For some reason, I thought that the sun would be going down in front of the model, but the sun was going down behind the model, behind some mountains. And the light was in the wrong place. I didn't have a reflector. I'm so prepared. But we had this great setup, and I didn't let it faze me. You can't be fazed when you're on a photo shoot because the team needs to believe in you. So I was like, yeah, I'll fix it later, freaking out, crying inside. But luckily, it came through. So the initial picture I chose because obviously this wave was so beautiful. I liked her face. I liked her body language. I thought she looked really like lost and waiting. Her tail had disappeared, so I grabbed the tail from another photo. I thought the area in front of her was a bit bare, so I grabbed some more waves from a different photo, brought that in. Again, I shoot quickly and I shoot a lot. Whenever I'm shooting, the first things I'm looking at is body language, the face, what are they doing? And then I start piecing it together. Once I had this wave, I was like, oh my God, let me capture as many waves as I can. While I'm there, in the same place, I shoot around the girl as well, just to get any scenes around her in case I want to bring something back, which in this case was a nearby cliff. I actually really liked the cliff, but I thought it was too far away from the crop that I wanted. So from a different picture, I brought it in and rescued it. Now, the sky and the light, how would that work? I usually go out and about, like whenever I have the camera and I happen to be out and about and there's a beautiful sky, I will take a picture of it, and that picture goes into my stock photography folder in my hard drive. So I just went into there and I found an appropriate sky. The sky I found had the light kind of low and in front. So I positioned it so that it would look quite naturally as if she was lit from the side or the front. And essentially, when I overlaid that image, a little bit of the warmth landed on her face, so it actually looked quite realistic. And then a little bit of dodging and burning manipulated that natural light to look as if it was actually really from that. So that is the final image from that session. Right. We have 2 minutes to go, and I'm just going to share with you a few final tips. Now, these are just little lessons that I've learned along the way, and I'm going to share them with you. And I'm sure most of you guys already know this, so this is probably nothing new. So the first thing I want to share is model releases. Now, get your model releases. You don't know who you're going to be or where you're going to be in 5 or 10 years' time. Like where you are right now, you know, you could be so much further down in that time. Things happen really fast. Make sure that you are covered and you have your model releases. You can do this in several ways. You can either message it to them at the beginning of the shoot, or you can have an app and, again, just get them to sign it at the shoot. The next thing, send your team photos. Now, if you're working with a team, if you're working with a makeup artist, a hair artist, get them the photos. I've worked with so many people, and they've always told me that, oh, yeah, you know, I'm like waiting 2 years for the pictures I took with that photographer. And I'm like, OK, don't worry. I'm going to give them to you in 2 weeks. So get them your photos, because this will lead you to another point, which is at the bottom here, which is reputation is key. Now, this is a small industry. Eventually, we're all going to get to know each other. People know each other, and people talk as well. If you have a good reputation, then you're more likely to get recommended for a job than somebody who doesn't have a good reputation, even though his work may be better. So reputation is key. Be somebody that people can rely on and recommend. Make sure you credit everyone. Now, this is just my personal motto. I really credit everybody. If somebody has so much as like breathed on my photo, I'll be like, you're credited. No, not that bad. But like a lot of people don't credit the retoucher. My boyfriend's a retoucher, and I don't think he cares if people don't credit him. But I think that if someone's touched your image, they should get credited. and this includes assistants as well. This point, change the title of the finished picture for Google search. Now, this is a lesson I only learned in the last year. I'm quite a slow learner. Prior to that, I was uploading -G1475 onto Facebook, Tumblr, everywhere. No one's going to find that image. It's gone. Change the title of your finished picture for Google search. So in this case, now my image is titled with the title of the image, with dashes in between, then my name, and then basically just tags. They will go in the name of that image. That goes on to all my social media platforms like Facebook, Tumblr, everything. So it will pop up on Google search if you type in like fairy tales, Oxford Whimsical, I don't know. Hopefully it should come up. Organize your photos effectively. Again, this is just time management. Again, time is money. If somebody needs their photos, you can find them really quickly, be done with it. And the final point, as we all know, is always back up. And that means backing up your hard drive twice, and maybe even like shoving off some of your pictures onto cloud as well, so that if anything happens, you still have your images. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's me. Thank you so much for listening. We can all go out and get some cool air. Thank you.